Okay. Planning and zoning, to open up the meeting, we'll do the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag
The flag of the United States.
to the republic, which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here.
Christensen? Here. Mish? Here. Madigan? Here. Martinez?
Here.
Turner?
Here.
McCarty?
There. Okay, announcements and correspondence. Howard?
None.
And no announcements and correspondence. Approval of the April 2nd, 2025 planning and zoning board meeting minutes. Sure.
Second is presented.
As presented, no corrections. Roll call.
Sam Flippo?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Mish?
Yes.
Madigan?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Turner?
Abstain.
McCarty?
Yes. All right, do we have anybody signed up for public comment over there on the sheets? Madison George. So Madison George, so you're gonna be speaking on what proposal?
The special use and site plan review.
Okay. So we'll bring that up on our new business and then we'll swear you in, you'll be able to make comment now.
Okay.
Any old business? Howard?
No.
We're good? All right, new business, we have PCB 2502, consideration and request for special use and site plan review for Rock's Backyard, which is located at 453 Main Street, Unit A, Antioch, Illinois. Pin number 0205300073. Howard?
But it's gonna be easier for me to have the microphone here, so I could also run the PowerPoint presentation.
Sounds good.
Okay, so this is for the special use site plan, which you just mentioned, the address and the PIN number. So let's move forward. So the applicant here is proposing to open up a barbecue restaurant, sports bar, and entertainment establishment in a recently constructed building, which also includes consumed cannabis, which is an existing commercial tenant. Naturally, these two businesses, Brock's Backyard, is here tonight, applying for the special use and site plan. And the cannabis, consumed cannabis will be inhabiting the same building. So it's a building with two tenants, one old, one proposed, one new. The name of the applicant is Pour and Play Entertainment LLC, which will open as Brock's Backyard. Madison George, who's here in the audience, is the applicant who's going to speak on behalf of the application. Troy is also here, the property owner, if there's any additional questions. So what I have here on the monitor is the Lake County GIS map that shows the existing property. It's a large rectangular property. It's vacant in this aerial photo, but naturally there's a building and associated parking stalls that were built in the 2023 approved plan, built in 2024. As I've just mentioned, the approved cannabis dispensary application was approved in 2023, constructed in 2024, and who's there currently is consumed cannabis at the address listed at the beginning of this application hearing. And this is a multi-tenant building. Now I have the current zoning map that shows that the property in question, the subject property, 453 Main Street, Unit A, is zoned M1. It's an M1 district. This slide shows a little bit of the interior and exterior in greater detail. So the applicant will lease around 4,800 square feet of the existing building area. This business will also include an outdoor eating and drinking patio that will be plus or minus 1,200 square feet in size. And this outdoor seating area will be situated towards the northern side of the building. So what you see here is the interior. At the upper hand of the slide, you can see the outdoor seating on the slot on the side, and here is a larger version of what it looks like the outdoor with the corresponding arrows.
Question, Howard, do we have the green cards and responses?
Yes, I do.
We have everything logged in, so it's part of our minutes and notes.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes, I have the master folder in the office.
thank you.
And the master folder has been available for anyone in the public in the last 15 days when this was advertised in the newspaper and when the actual zoning sign was placed on the property. I've had no one come in to look at the master folder. Neither did I have any phone calls regarding this property. So again, as part of my, as part of the agenda, any announcements or correspondence, I would mention, I've received so many calls and telephone messages or emails or stuff like that. So
Thank you.
there's nothing for that. Getting back to the slide. So to open up a BBQ restaurant, the applicant will need to apply for a special use application. By applying for a special use application, this will also trigger a site plan review for the restaurant's interior, exterior build out, the expansion of the probable associated parking spaces, and the creation of a new trash dumpster enclosure area. What I put here is, however, the site plan will be done in an expedited manner. When I mean expedited, this is not a full-blown site plan because the site is existing. The building has been constructed, the parking has been built, and landscaping has been installed. So what I was focusing here was the three items that I mentioned. Interior, exterior build out, the associated parking that's going to be in the upper hand, which I'll show on another slide, and also the trash enclosure area. So this is the site plan that Madison George has submitted to the municipality. She provided in red ink areas where the improvements will take place. So the new outdoor seating, the patio area, is that area towards the northern end of the building that's shown by dimensions 60 by 20 feet, 60 feet in length, 20 feet in width. The new striped parking stalls, which is the northern row, which is above the 24 feet, and there is a little blurb at the side that says 12 9 by 18 parking stalls to be constructed during the building permit process. And then finally, the trash enclosure area, which is located at the very bottom of the parking stalls, directly behind the consumed cannabis. This is going to be a consolidated area. This is going to have the trash enclosure for the consume, for Brock's backyard, and for the other building, the bikini shop, and the other business that's there. So this is a consolidated area. You guys, as the planning and zoning board, might remember this was the area where the hypo outdoor trailer was for the temporary selling of cannabis. That's been removed, and that's going to be the area of the trash enclosure. And then this is the end of my PowerPoint presentation. I'm here to answer any questions or answers. If you want me to, I could jump onto the hypo staff report that I have here. I can show it on the screen, or any other supporting materials that may be needed during this process. So please ask and I'll show. I do have here the materials that were submitted, the staff report, the application and supporting materials. Then I also have a 2023 site plan and a lighting plan from 2020. In case the chair wants to ask questions about lighting for this property. And then naturally over there, I also have the PowerPoint presentation that I just went through.
If you can, give me some background on, the staff report, please.
So since this is my first staff report run through this planning and zoning board, I'll just go over some of the mechanics or some of the way I've created this. So naturally, I'll always speak about the background to the case or subject property that's in hand. Then I'll break it down into a special use, and I'll go into details about the special use with the findings of fact. Right, there are two for special use, which are always highlighted, not highlighted, bolded, and shown here stands out. My description of why it meets the findings of fact, and then a special site plan review process or section that talks about the site plan. I go into details about the leasable area, how the restaurant is broken up into 3 compartments. I talk about the parking, greater details and stuff like this. And then typically at the end is the recommendation by staff plus the conditions. So I could go over the staff report very quickly if you want me to.
Please.
Okay. So the background, again, like I mentioned in the PowerPoint, Pour and Play Entertainment LLC is interested in opening up a barbecue restaurant, sports bar, entertainment establishment. It's going to be called Brock's Backyard, 453 Main Street, Unit A. Unit B is consumed cannabis, for anyone here to be aware of this. The property is currently located in the M1 district, which is manufacturing unlimited. This is usually done to accommodate for moderate impact industrial activities and warehousing. I also speak that this area has a mixture of different land uses that is there. Commercial, warehouse, storage facility, residential on the other side of a very long rectangular property after wetlands. So it has a mixture of different uses. So now the section on special use. So in order to open up such an establishment, they have to apply for a special use. So eating and drinking establishment would be the main heading for this, and they would have to apply for a restaurant. The reason why it's a restaurant special use, because the restaurant is going to be the primary use. The ancillary uses will be a sports bar, which is going to be part of the restaurant. And then the other one is the entertainment establishment. When I mentioned entertainment establishment, this is where they're going to have their facility with the corn bag tournament, and they also might have like rock bands or music ensembles here during the restaurant use. But at the end of the day, this is a restaurant. It's an eating and drinking establishment. So in unique situations like this, the applicant will have to apply for a special use. Again, the area that the applicant would like to lease is 4,800 square feet. 1,200 square feet will be the outdoor area. And then I go into the findings of fact. And the number one, the first finding of fact, the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the property in the immediate area for the purpose already permitted, nor substantially diminish property values with the neighborhood. I speak about that this new business will also house a full American Cornhole Associated indoor playing court, which will be used to host local tournaments and for novices to become acclimated with this popular sport. This is going to be a new destination place. While the second finding of fact, which is the establishment of the special use, will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of adjacent property for the uses permitted on the zoning district. Again, I mentioned that this was a vacant property. This went through the special use with the cannabis, with the variance associated with that cannabis dispensary. This is a building that's brand new development that's taking place. This subject site will contain a business, which is the Brock's Backyard, will bring a variety of people to eat, drink, and play in a shared communal environment. So noise pollution and light spillage of this new business should not be much of an issue because right behind it, we have lots of land and wetlands, so the nearest residential homes are very far away. And across the street, you have the warehouse single storage facility. So that is the special use component. Second part of the staff report talks about the site plan review. As I mentioned in the PowerPoint and in my introduction here, due to the restaurant interior and exterior build out and the expansion of probable associated parking spaces, the creation of a new trash enclosure area, this triggers a site plan review. So again, I go over the square footage and I talk about the new restaurant. So the new restaurant is broken up into 3 separate sections. The first section will be for internal eating. For internal eating and drinking, the second section is dedicated for the cornhole playing. And the third section is exclusively reserved for outdoor seating. Architecturally speaking, the Planning and Zoning Board approved a precast building with a metal pit roof. The building was designed with storefront windows and four large garage doors, which is current. The applicant will choose to use the 2 garage doors labeled on the site plan and the business plan. Garage 1 and 3 to provide fresh air and light into the facility when it's nice weather outside. Then I speak about the parking. So the parking is always a zoning requirement that has to be reviewed in tandem with the special use, especially for a use that triggers lots of parking. So what I explain in this paragraph that per the submitted site plan, the property owner is providing for 48 total parking spaces. 3 of these parking spaces are reserved for handicap parking. I conducted the calculation for this. The new restaurant will trigger 29 parking spaces, which includes the indoor, outdoor, and the recreational space reserved for the ACA courts. And the cannabis dispensary will generate another 16 parking spaces, which is already established, which is already there. In total, 45 parking spaces are required for the new restaurant and existing cannabis store. 48 parking spaces are provided by the property owner, so in reality, they have a surplus of 3 parking spaces. Now, I will get into details about the parking in the next couple of paragraphs. So as part of the site plan review, where I have the cursor right there, moving back and forth, and where you see a red line, that's the new row of tow parking spaces that will be proposed. Basically, it's the asphalt area that's there today, the asphalt pavement. What they're going to do here is they're going to stripe it. Now, I've had a discussion with Troy, the property owner on site, and we looked at the property. We looked at the area where the proposed outdoor seating will take place. And we also discussed about the turnaround for the drive aisle for 2-way traffic, which is required by zoning 24 feet in width, a minimum. So the 2 of us made a educated guess with our measurements that the proposed perpendicular parking spaces here, the 12 parking spaces that's shown by the site plan by Madison George, will probably most likely not happen because of the circulation. We want to provide for ample space for cars and people to maneuver the outdoor area. It's here. So most likely it's going to be parallel parking. It's going to go down to 6 parking spaces. So in this staff report, I mentioned, and I colored in red ink and it's italicized, that most likely additional parking spaces will be created south of the existing cannabis building, cannabis dispensary section. which is around right here. So the idea is to use what's existing and not, pave more area or destroy the trees that are there, or to expand on the property without a proper review for circulation and traffic. So again, I'll read here verbatim the area that I italicized and read in. This new striped parking area, i.e. the southern end of the building, can be implemented as part of the building permit process for the restaurant. Staff and Mr. Sonde will evaluate the situation during the building permit process. Then I also, I finally mentioned in the final paragraph about the trash enclosure, how it's going to be shared by Rock's Backyard, the Consume Cannabis, My Bikini Shop, and Forbidden Suite. So then I have my recommendations. Staff believes that this is a good use of the property. And there are 3 conditions, which are pretty typical, which I've noticed here. Requirement by village engineer, requirement, compliance with the requirements by the Antioch Fire District, and the next one, the third one, which is my requirement, that's a new one, the requirements associated with on-site parking. Now, I could go into greater details about the parking, but I'll let the chairman propose those questions, and I can counter and provide my assumption or educated discussion about parking.
Thank you, Howard. Any questions? Let's start with Sanfilippo. Sanfilippo, are you online?
I am.
Do you have any questions?
Hi. Yeah. Originally, when the consumed cannabis was applied for the special use and the site plan review was done, could you remind me again what the proposed space for the the restaurant, what that was intended to be storage, correct? Originally?
I believe it was intended to be a business with storage and or availability to run a business with the overhead doors and such.
So what I have here is I put up the 2023 plan that was reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Board that shows the proposed area with the parking spaces perpendicular, which now will be substituted with the outdoor seating. Pretty much as half of the building was going to be proposed for a different use.
But
Okay.
again, a restaurant is going to require a higher volume of parking for its establishment, correct?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Okay.
And what I did in the parking calculation, the numbers that I ran by, which I mentioned in this presentation, was I did the sections that deal with indoor and outdoor seating. And then when it came for the recreational use, I used a different standard to calculate the recreational use because they're not for eating and drinking. So what I'm trying to say is I did not do just a blanket, 4,800 square feet of area for eating and drinking. I took in consideration the different uses that are being applied for the property.
Howard, what would it be if it was the standard use by square footage?
It would be much lower. If it was a retail use, it would be much lower.
No. If it was a restaurant at the square footage, not including the recreational use, what would the parking need to be? That's separate because that's already been calculated separately. So if we're looking just at a restaurant and its use, not recreational use, but all the seating, exterior for the north side and interior for inside by square footage, what would the calculation be for parking?
So I have it here. So I for For evidence, I have the off-street parking and loading, chapter 12 of the zoning code here, so I brought a copy, because if you want to talk about shared parking or collective parking and reduction in parking requirements, I could go into greater details. I'm looking at the schedule of off-street parking guidelines for here. It says eating and drinking establishment, 8 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet.
So what would the calculation come to for parking availability and the need for a drinking and eating establishment?
I'm gonna do the calculation now. It would be around 36 parking spaces.
36, and what do we have for the cannabis shop?
In my staff report, I mentioned.
16?
Yeah,
1636. 52. We're at 48.
52, yes,
We're at 48 at this point.
right. So
A
naturally,
possibility with more parking to the south. Shared parking from the other establishments in the retail section.
so naturally, I've calculated the area where there's no eating and drinking or seating, so it would be dedicated for the 4 courts that are presented. Hence the reason why the restaurant number is lower.
I understand your concept, but square footage is square footage, and if you're not using something for bagos or other things, it could be used for seating in the future. So we have to make sure we have maximum secured parking availability. But to the south of this, in the same facility, he has more parking availability slightly off-site. What do we have there? So we have it on record.
I don't have it. You could ask the property owner who's here. He could tell you how many parking spaces.
If anybody wants to stand and speak to this presentation, please raise your right hand, be sworn in.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give in this hearing is factual to the best of your knowledge.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sunday, if you'd like to come up and give us a little synopsis of your parking you have to the south.
Yeah, there's roughly about 40 spots total there with the back end front.
On the
Bikini shop building.
bikini shop and other buildings. So we have additional parking that's available for people to park while the overflow is happening 4 years establishment north. Their hours of operation typically are during the day.
I don't think the bikini shop's been open since November, but
I hear you there. But otherwise, the other establishments are business hours that are
they're usually
normally
out of there by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
right. And the restaurant, the hours are from what to what?
10 o'clock until 11 o'clock during the week, or 11 o'clock till 10 o'clock, Sunday through Wednesday, Thursday, 11 to 12. So 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. and then Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m.
So that pretty much offsets hours to what's going on.
Yeah, and consume is closed by 9 o'clock every day.
Yes, sorry. Anybody who's gonna speak, please come up to the mic so we can hear you and it gets logged in. So, Ms. Sanfilippo, any other questions? Ms. Sanfilippo?
Yes, so the outdoor patio area, the eating portion of the proposed use is in the parking lot? Is that correct? Could we speak a little bit more about where that's located?
Adjacent the building on the north side of the current building that's in place. And it's kind of like it was the driveway at this point.
Okay,
So it's being set to the north side of that. What's the width of that? It's
20 by 60.
20 by 60. So it's 20 feet out from the building and 60 feet, which is the depth of the building.
okay, on the north side of the building. I mean,
North side of the building, yes.
I did review the packet, unfortunately, I couldn't see what was presented here tonight, but I'm assuming it's the same as what was in our packet that was sent to us, correct?
Yes, and we don't have elevations showing that, so it's a little
Okay.
difficult to.
And the other question I have is, was there and I did see some, additional proposed parking spaces, but it sounds like we're not quite sure what's happening with that to reach the 52 required parking spaces. But that the applicant would work with the village staff on that. Did we get any kind of lighting package submitted?
Howard,
Not necessarily with this application, but there is a lighting package that I have here, which I can open up for the 2020, it was created in 2019, 2020 for the first go around of this site plan. So let me open up the lighting plan.
unfortunately, this can be a little different because we have now 20 foot of seating to the north side, and it's gonna skew the lighting package that we had previously, correct? Howard,
Yes or no, because if it's outdoor seating, it's not gonna be a covered area. So whatever lighting that's there on the perimeter of the building, which was approved in 2023, should not add any further intensity except for the area where you have the outdoor seating.
previous end of the parking didn't go quite as far to the north as what they were showing previously or now that you're showing.
Yes.
So it would be affected. Correct?
I can't make that determination. I'm not a lighting engineer. The only thing I can say that this is not a building that's being added. It's just an outdoor area. If you want, you could ask Madison George on the type of outdoor, elevations or materials that are being used, how tall, how high. But I can't answer this question. What I can answer is there was a photometric plan that was submitted that shows you the measurement to the end of the property line, which is required by zoning, can't trespass the property line. Shows the existing proposed building that's there. So that area shows you the plus or minus of the foot candle. But again, I can't make the determination because I'm not a lighting engineer.
I understand. Okay. Ms. Sanfilippo, any other questions?
Not for now. Thank you.
Ms. Carstensen?
Yes, did we confirm that the applicant previously did everything we asked for with regards to landscaping and lighting and?
So I looked at the village board report that was submitted in 2023 for the ordinance memorialization. The only thing I came across in the staff report by my predecessor was, outdoor lighting will be provided on the perimeter of the building. Now, I gather here, there was discussion between the board and Mr. Garrigan, my predecessor, that there was no need to do outdoor lighting, parking light poles at that moment. So they were not needed. Hence the reason why they're not there today. You have lighting on the perimeter of the building. And getting to the second part, which is what? Mentioned lighting, landscaping. So landscaping, I met with the property owner before this process began, and I conversed with Troy about the landscaping. He finished the landscaping to what should be there at this point. Keep in mind, there was no landscaping because of the winter, and then we started in January, February. But there's landscaping, there's trees, and there's shrubs. We tried to follow as best as possible. Keep in mind that this landscaping plan that was presented was from the 2019 plan, which never went anywhere because there was a stormwater basin, a detention basin that was proposed in the front of the property, which was never built because IDOT had some reservations of it being on their property. If you look at the property or you look at aerial or Google map, you'll notice that the mature trees are on the IDOT side of the property. Everything that is today new grass, new trees that are planted in shrubs, that is on the Troy's property. So I had to work with Troy and try to put landscaping on his side of the property, not on IDOT's portion.
No residents came to speak to you?
No residents by telephone or by email or in person.
And are we concerned about traffic with additional vehicles coming in and out on 83?
No, not at the moment.
And then can you can you go back to the site plan and explain the parallel parking? Would the parallel parking be on the north side, the south side, or both?
Parallel parking will be opposite from the proposed outdoor area. It's that area that was shown on the, how you call it, on my staff report of the PowerPoint, that is with a red line that goes across it.
So the north side, yeah. Okay. And then are we just voting on a special use and then we would also vote on a site plan?
You could have two motions or it could be one motion to combine them.
So we would do both tonight.
It's up to the board.
Okay, I want to hear what everybody else says.
Ms. Fish?
I have one question, and is the parking lot that all these businesses are in, is there only one entrance and exit out of that area?
No, there are two.
There are two. There's one to the south, which goes to the existing space, which is for bikini shop and the other retail sections that are there, and then one to the north,
Okay,
which is on the farthest north side, going out to Route 83 from the restaurant establishment that they're proposing.
that's all I have right
Ms. Manigan?
I do have a couple questions. Which I think, Troy, you kind of answered, my concern was with parking regarding some of these tournaments, right? Like a lot of times people who are playing cornhole will come individually, right? So that opposed to like multiple people coming to have dinner or what have you. So, but with the additional parking by the bikini shop, I mean, I think that's I think that kind of mitigates my concern there. One of the other things that I had a concern about, you talked in the report, there was about being able to actually have like live music. So my concern would be, would that take place? Cornhole inside could be played year round, right? So if that is the case, let's say that you don't have a tournament going on right now at the moment, and you decide to have live music, does that mean if it's in the summer that all those garage doors will be open? And if that's the case, I'm worried about noise or that. So there is, even though it's behind it, we went to this because we had the cannabis, that there are residents that are, over there, part of Oakwood Knolls, I believe.
East side, yes.
Yeah, and so my concern would be considering the establishment to be open until 2 AM. The noise level would be a concern for me as well. So when you have live music, would you be shutting all the garage doors and would they remain shut?
My name is Madison George, by the way. I'm working as the project manager.
Please state your name, your address, and information for the record. Thank you.
So yes, we have garage doors, but the music space would be inside those garage doors, and like even with the outdoor space, there would be no space for us to even have the music outside, so definitely like if the noise becomes an issue, those doors can be closed.
But they're gonna just be glass, like, I'm assuming glass of some sort?
So there's one in the front that's like a windowed garage door,
Mhm.
and then the other two are just like normal garage doors.
Okay.
Again, if you would please just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Madison George. I'm the project manager on the restaurant. And do you mean like
Where you live,
oh, I live in Brown Lake, Illinois.
that's,
Thanks for the favor. Like, this one is like blind. Thank you. Oh, all right, and then as far as the outdoor patio, right, so, obviously there will be individual tables out there. So with that being said, will there be any type of like divide or barrier that will go around that patio?
Yeah, so we're planning to have it like fenced in. So then the access point will be either through the garage. Or I'm assuming that will create like a gate to go in from the outside. But yeah, like the garage outside would be the main point.
Okay, and so I understand, what, was discussed earlier about the building having lights, right? So, but the concern would be, right, they're facing downward, they're, you know, like, not meant to be projected, too much out, right? And so where would you have additional lighting there as well to light that area for people to see while they're eating? Or how does that work?
So we haven't like fully mapped out exactly what it's gonna look like design wise, but I'm sure that we're going to have some sort of lighting outside there.
Okay, so that, and that
So yes.
part of the lighting spec that was provided to us, Howard, or no?
No,
Okay, so that needs to be redone and presented back to us.
So what I posed or what I showed is the 2019-2020 photometric plan that was presented when this original application came through. Then most likely was used in the cannabis dispensary application. Granted, I wasn't here, so I can't speak on what has happened before. Typically, in a site plan review, when a new property is being developed, from vacant piece of property to a property with a building, associated parking, traffic, lighting, landscaping, trash enclosure, that is usually reviewed under the first review process. If it wasn't for outdoor seating, if it wasn't for, she showing additional parking spaces on the paved area with a trash enclosure, if she just came in as a special use, we wouldn't be talking about any site plan. The reason why I brought the site plan is because of the outdoor area. Now, I don't have the authority, neither does the zoning code says under a special use, this person has to submit architectural plans, has to submit a lighting plan. Only under the PUD, under site plan review, I could ask for like a traffic impact study. So I have to be very careful on what I'm asking from the applicant, because I could be charged for being overbearing. I have to treat every applicant the same. Now, what I proposed or what I presented was the lighting plan from the past. You have Madison George here as the applicant, you have the property owner. If you feel like a new lighting plan needs to be established, that's a conversation you'll have with that party. I can't ask for it. What I could ask is for the basics. I have to be very mindful on how I ask for it, because it could just get complicated.
No, and I understand that, but we also have to take into consideration, right, so. You're gonna have a lot more traffic coming around that building now, right? It's been vacant for a while, right? Not vacant, but.
That portion.
Right, that portion of it has. And now you're gonna have people sitting out there, right? So, as anybody who follows absolutely Antioch, we seem to have cars running into buildings. So that's where there's a concern on an outdoor patio, right? You'll notice Oliveri North has concrete pillars that are surrounding their outdoor area, right? So, I mean, I'm not trying to be funny about it, but it's a concern, right? Obviously. And so with that being said, right, like depending on lighting that's used, it could either affect residents, right? Especially if it's late, right? If that area is open until 2 AM on a Saturday and there's some type of lighting out there. It's not more downward versus another way. Again, would it create a shadow, like, people driving, being distracted by it? That's my only concern. And if you have something, if you have a proposal of what you're gonna put out there, I think that would be helpful to us on the board, so we can exactly see what you're planning on doing out there, right? So it makes it a little bit easier for us to make decisions on those items, right?
So
Okay.
let me answer one of your questions, parking. So I've been to the site a couple of times. Troy's to provide a testimony. He's seen me a couple of times taking pictures. I've sat there for a good 45 minutes looking at the traffic for the cannabis. You might get 3 or 4 cars that sits there for 15 minutes. They walk in and they're walking out. Most of that parking stall in the front of the building, it's unoccupied.
No, I
Granted-
understand
Granted,
that,
there's no restaurant.
right,
I looked at the back of the property. The only people that are parking there are the employees. As Troy has mentioned, he'll provide for additional parking for employees to get it away from the circumference of the building. I parked my car at the Bikini property, maybe 2 or 3 cars. So traffic, it's gonna be staggered because this is gonna be a business that's gonna probably attract more people in the evening versus the daytime, more people on the weekend versus the weekdays.
I
Again,
think they're hoping that's not the case, but then,
right, the
I think
cannabis,
they're hoping they're busy every day.
right, the cannabis,
all day long.
eventually, cannabis dispensary will eventually close down and then the.
Yeah, I'm
nightlife,
not
the rest-
concerned about, we answered the parking thing, that's not my concern, my concern is with the lighting and the right, as people come around there, right, whether they're parking there or just coming around the building to look for another spot, whatever it may be. It's a concern, like being able to see people, shadows and whatever, so that's why I'm just saying, if we could see something, some type of design, drawing that specifically outlines what your intentions are with that patio, for us to say, okay, yeah, we're okay with this, right? Like it's minimal light, you're gonna put little lights on the table, you're gonna do little corner posts, whatever it is, we just need to see something.
I can definitely get you something more in detail with the lighting, I just don't have it now. But I can assure you there will be some sort of lighting outside, like it will be well lit.
The concern is, not just well lit, it's actually impact to other people off site. So, a photometrics plan, that's what we work off of for our board. So we can adjust and, give good, input and have good feedback from you, so we understand what we're approving.
Yes, I can definitely get that for you guys. I didn't know I needed that today.
It's okay.
Yep, that's why we're here, we just ask, again, we're just, like, it's a fact finding issue, right?
Right.
Like, we need to get facts from you and you need to get information from us. And then do we have like a noise ordinance time for like an establishment?
Unfortunately, our village does not have a noise ordinance in place. We do have a nuisance ordinance, which states timeframe and placement for nuisance.
So, let me just reiterate about the lighting, so both the property owner and the applicant is aware. If it wasn't for the outdoor
We
area,
understand.
the patio,
Yep,
you would have been fine with the existing lighting with the building, right?
yes,
We understand that, yes.
Yeah.
The area that they're-
That expands.
Yeah.
That expands our concept for everything we have to approve tonight, because we've added to the space and expanded it. Now we have more questions to include and make sure we're covered. So the public knows, the neighbors know, we know, and we approve based on that. Howard, what's the nuisance ordinance?
I'm not sure, I would have to look it up. I'm not prepared to answer this question.
Okay, so we should probably get some information on that. And have that in place.
Noise?
yeah.
Nuisance ordinance. We don't have a noise ordinance in the village yet. That's yet to come. I know it's on the plan coming up, so
Right,
we're working on it.
so just to mention to everyone here and the general public, whoever is viewing this online, typically this falls outside of planning and zoning to an extent, so what you're asking for is an ordinance section that's outside of my purview. I can get you that information. I don't have that information readily available.
Agreed.
Because it's.
Agreed. And we do have a nuisance ordinance, so it does give timeframes and noise levels within that nuisance ordinance, but we don't typically look at that under certain sections, what we do in our purview for what we're approving. Anything else?
I do like the concept, I love the concept, so I think it would be a fun establishment, I think you will be busy. So I just want to go on record of that, I'm for it, I just gotta make sure we button up a few things.
Mr. Martinez?
Chairman, I agree with a lot of the commentary mentioned tonight, including Commissioner Madigan's concerns that resonate with me were the ones regarding live music and garage doors being open. And even though we don't have a noise ordinance, I do hope that as this goes forward, that is something to be considered, is your neighbors. Same thing with what we're asking about the outdoor seating. The premise behind all this is also for the safety of those patrons of yours. And something that, again, that hopefully when you come back with more detailed information, you consider their safety just the same.
Mr. Turner? You online?
I am here. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
And we can see you.
Hello,
Look at
everybody.
that.
I love all the lighting talk tonight, everyone. You're making me happy. So I wanted to start by saying I love the idea. I think that when we go back to the beginning of what that space looked like 10 years ago, I really like what's happened. I love the investment in that corner, and I think it's only going to continue to help that corner in general. So I think I support the idea. I think I heard a lot tonight from my fellow commissioners asking questions that I also have, just wanting to make sure that we are following the correct guidelines within the village and, planning and zoning ordinances and everything that we have to abide by. Howard, I think you felt a little bit tonight of, what's been approved in the past, and maybe is it what has transpired? Some of that has bitten this board over time, I think, from your predecessor in what has been told to us and then what has actually been installed. So I think that was a question in the beginning around the current lighting plan. Was that plan actually executed, or was that current landscape plan that was told to us was actually executed? I think that's where that came from. My question, and it was hard for me to hear there for a little bit, so I apologize if it's a redundant question. I do care a lot about the lighting aspect, and I just want to make sure that we are talking about getting a photometric at some point for this area. Is that accurate?
I would agree.
Okay, and I guess where my head's at, and then I heard what Howard was saying regarding like we can only ask for certain things or we can't ask for others. My, I guess, open question to the board and everyone in the room is it was proposed to us originally as a cannabis shop where we have 1 or 2 cars that pull up in the middle of the day, mainly always someone over the age of 18, adults walking into a facility, spending 15 to 20 minutes doing their thing, and then they leave, right? Now we're talking about a parking lot full of children. I have 3 young boys. They don't listen to me in the parking lot. I know how they act, right? So I think it's just from a concept of from what I'm hearing tonight, and my stance is I support the concept. I think we just want to make sure that there's sufficient lighting. The only way that me personally, I work in the lighting industry. The only way I can understand that is if I have a photometric layout. So that's just would be my request from my side.
So let me ask this question on behalf of the applicant and the property owner to educate myself further on how this board wants to go forward in other application. Anyone could generate a photometric plan. They're gonna show you where to put candle, you know, where it should end at the property line. Now, out of this photometric plans, what do you wanna see? Do you wanna see parking light poles? Do you wanna see additional
Yes.
lights on the building?
Yes,
So they are aware of what's being requested.
yes.
So they're gonna add. Yeah,
Yes.
anything that's
So,
added.
in the past, we've requested and asked for wall packs shown on the plan, light poles shown on the plan, photometrics showing, foot candles outside of the space. All of that is, very important to every project that comes before us, and within the village for probably the last 10 years, it was actually the last car dealership that came and went, which is now Concrete Solutions, was basically a like O'Hare of Antioch. So you would pull into town and you knew where that facility was because it was not 90-degree down, dark sky ordinance, which is what we've tried to do ever since then. And we've been trying to keep to that kind of a concept for every project that happens. We have one existing right now that was just annexed into our village, which is the truck dealership on 1753, which has 45-degree angle lighting, and it lights up the whole sky as you come in from the east and or coming over from the west. That has to be adjusted. We'll deal with that. I'm sure that that's coming up in the future, but we need to look at each one of our sites with the photometrics to make sure that the foot candles do not exceed what we have in our ordinance past the level for the neighbors and have other problems for you know your residents around you. So that's what we're looking for.
I just had something to say. There was a new photometrics in 2023 done. That's where the wall packs all met the requirements. That was
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
he doesn't have, but he never found it. I mean, you guys didn't even have the approved plans from 2023. I had to send it to him last week, so I could get that photometric plan to you guys, but that met and exceeded what you needed. And we did walk the property to make sure nothing was leaving with the electricians that installed it. Sort of leaving the property and stuff like that.
We understand it, and that's all good, and that's perfectly acceptable under the premises of the building what it was approved of at that time.
Yep.
But now that we've changed
Yeah, you're saying that they're adding it, but still the light that's cast there, it won't affect it. You're saying if
We
they
don't-
add more light, you want.
we don't know. We have to see what they're proposing. So whatever they're going to propose, then we can do an adjustment and make sure that's all agreed upon. We're good to go.
Sounds good.
You got it.
Thank you for doing what we asked.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else, Mr. Turner?
Yeah, so one other question that I had did, and I think it was talked about earlier, and I think I missed it as well, so I apologize. Was this put in front of the fire board previous to coming to us, or was that just curious where that stands?
Good question. So I've had a discussion with the fire district. So technically, they like to see plans when they're submitted as part of the building permit process. However, being new to this municipality, on larger site plans, they would be willing to look at the plans before they go through the planning and zoning and village board.
Thank you so very much, Howard, for doing that.
It's not easy.
Well, I appreciate it because previously we didn't get this consideration and so you understand, it was left to staff and or other timeframes to be accepted later. And that's something that should be part of this process to make sure that the plans have proper turn radiuses for trucks, for fire vehicles, emergency vehicles, all the way around the facility, so on and so forth, before we do an approval here, that we get that acceptance and we know that it's all good. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
So as I move forward in time with new applications, they're gonna go through a 2-week review process internally with our department heads to see, and fire also,
Agreed.
to see if they have any comments or suggestions to be incorporated into plans prior to submitting as part of the application process versus it being tabled, or Howard, you'll deal with it during the building permit process, which is
Perfect.
done in the past.
Perfect. And the only reason that's coming up at this point for this application is because, again, it's that northern side with your public outside seating that changes the whole demographics around the building for traffic flow and emergency vehicles. So thank you again. Anything else, Mr. Turner?
Yeah, just one last comment. I'm sorry. I don't, just to make a make a comment here. I don't see there really being that much of an issue with parking. I'm familiar with the space and the property, and I know that there is space to expand probably if need be. So that's not something that's keeping me up at night. I'm supportive of the idea, and I think I would just love to see that photometric, and I'd be in support of it. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Myself, you guys have touched on everything.
Oh, we're getting good.
Yes, you are. And I really don't have anything else to add to this. So, Howard?
So, parking is always a concern, and I hear it. So under the zoning ordinance, we have 2 sections, one that deals with shared parking, and one that deals with collective parking and reduction in parking requirements. Both of them gives me the jurisdiction to require an agreement between the 2 properties, which would be Troy filling out generating a letter that's notarized that says, I, as the property owner, will allow for additional overflow parking on the secondary property. So this will remain in perpetuity.
To the south.
Right.
Agreed.
Until he maybe decides to sell the property, and then that gets revisited. Do you want me to present this at the next board meeting with something from him in writing?
Absolutely.
Notarized that
Absolutely.
instead of creating additional parking.
So you have a connection.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We're not trying to make things, so difficult that it's, impossible to build your business out there and make it hard on you, but we want to make it so it's proper between that entire facility. So you have an overflow space for your parking to happen. I guess I would be looking for a motion to continue with more information.
Couldn't we not move forward with the special use and carry the site plan? Because the special use is for the restaurant being, correct?
Yeah, but it's based specifically on the outside space, which is part of your site plan. I agree with the concept. I love the concept, but I think the 2 of them are connected integrally to each other. If you give a special use, but you don't give them a site plan, it's.
Well, if we don't give them the site plan, it means that they couldn't do the outside patio, correct? Which then they have the establishment that was originally approved as is.
Well, that's 3/4 of their plan, I'm sure, so.
My opinion is it's cleaner to do both at once and just continue everything to the next month.
That's what I would agree with.
Mr. McCarty, Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Sanfilippo.
Thank you. I had my hand raised because I think Miss
I
Madigan,
see you. Can't see you.
oh, I'm sorry. Let
All
me,
good.
let me see if I can,
Gotcha.
Oh, wait, yeah.
am I there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Ms. Sanfilippo, you're up.
Yes, hi. This is why I normally come to the meetings in person because I don't have any of my kids like Mr. Turner maybe to help me with the tech here from home. You can hear me now though?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, again, just to reiterate, and I think that Ms. Madigan brought up, a good point is I think that I would be, more comfortable as well with the outdoor patio and seating. Obviously, the lighting is well covered. I think you will come back to us to hopefully help us envision how that outdoor patio portion is going to be lit for patrons. But I know that the applicant mentioned that outdoor patio area would be fenced. What kind of fencing are we talking about? And is there any kind of, like Ms. Madigan mentioned, a buffer, between, because it's my understanding that there is a drive, correct, to the north of the patio where
Yes.
cars
So-
potentially are going to be pulling
Two-way
around
driveway that can go around that
the
area.
patio.
Yes.
So could we have some type of, and I apologize, I can't think of what it's called, but
Elevations. So we're
well,
looking for some
Mr.
kind of.
McCarty, more like,
showing what's there and what's going to be protecting that area.
correct, are we going to have some type of, buffer there between the outdoor patio for the safety of the patrons, so that we don't have, people.
Sure. So an elevation and plan would be appropriate to show to us for the next meeting so we can.
Yeah, and I think that, Miss Madigan's
Improve the
comment
area.
about Oliveri North, I mean, obviously that wasn't originally planned for that building, and I was here in Antioch, living here when they built that out. And then, it was expanded out, and there were some safety measures and buffer put in place there, sort of between the parking and the patrons eating outdoors, just for the safety of everyone.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
The applicant would.
Yeah, we can definitely add that information as well, along with the lighting.
Thank you.
So I will make a motion for PCB 25-0.
I do have a concern.
Oh, sorry about that.
You'd like to speak?
Yes.
Are you a neighbor or speaking?
I live right back in the property.
Come on over and please.
I'm sorry.
I know you've been sworn in. Please just state your name and your address.
Scott Block, 270 Lakewood, Antioch.
Thank you, Scott.
My concern is, I know you guys are talking about parking lot, but the noise is a big deal that you guys are leaving out. You guys aren't talking about that a whole lot. I live right there. Everything echoes through those woods so huge. Any kind of noise, if you have music blasting there, we're gonna hear it at 2 in the morning. We're gonna hear it at 1 in the morning. I don't care when it's playing, we're going to hear it. I can guarantee that. You have to put up some kind of huge barrier in order to block it. It echoes through the woods. Every kind of construction back there echoes. Every time you hear a truck slam, a door close, anything, it echoes all the way through the woods. Basically, it's from the cannabis shop all the way to our residential properties. If you have music blasting there, everybody's gonna hear it. I mean, I don't know, to be honest, when I get home, I don't want to listen to somebody else's music. I mean, if it was a neighbor that had music blasting, I'd be calling the cops saying, turn that shit off. I mean, I'm done. I do not agree with music. It's going to echo through those woods so clearly, and everybody around there is going to hear it. And it's not only the people that you summon that are here. It's going to be the people that are across the street from me. It's going to be the people that a little bit past there. Neighbors in Wisconsin. I mean, it's going to be everyone's going to hear that music. I guarantee it, especially everybody through those woods. I mean, I've lived there 18 years. I guarantee I'll hear that music. So I would really prefer that the noise is really considered more than anything else, because we are going to hear it.
And again, as I've stated, we don't have a noise ordinance, but we have a nuisance ordinance. The nuisance ordinance covers the noise. It is there. We are looking into a noise ordinance for the village. Sure that they'll be working on that over the next few months, but the nuisance ordinance covers noise and its abuse to the neighbors and or other property owners. So it's there.
Okay.
It's in place, and if there's an issue, obviously, we're gonna have to deal with it. You have all the right in the world to complain and file those complaints if something comes up. And as the petitioner who's putting in a new business, I would hope that you would keep that in mind and mindful for the neighbors so it doesn't affect them so much. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I just wanna-
Thank you. And that's very well stated, and it's part of the record. Thank you.
Um,
I'm just bringing this up for house cleaning. So when you table this, you have to mention the day, the time, and the place. Because this went through the abutter notification process, so if it's a continued case, we need to state it in the public forum. And the next meeting will be held.
Sure.
So it should be June 4th, Wednesday, 7 PM at the village boardroom.
This man.
Get my glasses on, I can't see. There's okay, so under PZB 25-02, for the consideration of a request for special use and site plan review for Brock's Backyard located at 453 Main Street, Unit A, Antioch, Illinois, 60002, pin 0205300073. I would make a motion to continue both the special use and site plan to the June 4th planning and zoning meeting held at the village boardroom at 7 PM Central Standard Time. And a couple notes was for the site plan, if we could see the photometric plan, and if we could also see the design plan for the patio, including any barriers, gates, anything that's gonna change out there is what we're looking for, and
With some elevations.
so I think that is it for me.
Is there a second?
Second.
First from Ms. Mangan, second from Ms. Mish, and roll call.
Sanfilippo,
Yes.
Karstensen,
Yes.
Mish,
Yes.
Madigan,
Yes.
Martinez,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
McCarty.
Yes. Thank you very much, and we will definitely bring this up on June 4th. Please have your paperwork together and submit to the village, and we'll be able to go from that. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda, PCB 2503, consideration and request for a text amendment to the village zoning ordinance 10-14-12A regarding regulations institutional signage within the village. Howard, you're up.
Yes. So the second application for tonight's hearing is for the text amendment for signage. This is in relationship to the municipality and having a little bit more flexibility on governmental related buildings. So what I have here is I have my staff report. I didn't create a PowerPoint because this is a text amendment. It's kind of hard to create something which is not really attributed to a property. However, in my staff report, I speak about the reason why this is here before us tonight. So the municipality is in the process of moving to a new building site at 935 Skidmore Drive. So as part of the remodeling of that building that's taking place currently, the village wanted to kind of mimic the same sign that's there currently, right? The non-conforming sign to today's standards. So because of that, they would not, this channel letter internal illuminated sign would not comply with the stringent requirement of the Antioch downtown sign district. So to find a way to kind of like meander through it between administration, legal, and staff, it was determined that it would be the best option was to create a text amendment that allows for more flexibility for village hall and other village-related buildings, civic buildings. So again, naturally, the background for this is the 2020, the Circadian Health and Wellness Center applied for a new sign permit at 935 Skidmore Drive. The proposed sign that's there today is Circadian Health Wellness Center. This sign was submitted as a building permit for sign review. For 56 square foot sign and sign size, and will contain 2 rows of lettering. Again, channel lettering internally illuminated. As I explained in my staff report, prior to the Antioch downtown sign district being created, it was just a regular sign ordinance, and this applicant in 2020 applied for it. They met all the requirements, and it was approved by my predecessor through the building permit process for signage. So, like I mentioned on my second page of my staff report, the village wanted to mimic the same style of the sign that was approved in 2020. Right, with the caveat that the text amendment would need to be created to allow for more adaptability in signage. So the village wants to install a new sign that's going to be internally illuminated to be created in channel lettering manner. The intent for this is to allow for the village to advertise or show itself to the community. Since it's on a secondary street and it's located behind buildings that front Main Street, the intent is to have a sign that people can see, especially if they're coming to board meetings like tonight, from the general public. If we follow the sign requirements for this, it would be a sandblasted wooden sign with indented letter with gooseneck lighting. So that would make it a little bit hard for people to see that if they're walking a block away, walking towards the village home. So as part of this staff report, a text amendment has been created from section 10-14-12, which is called institutional uses, government, school, park, and churches. So the original ordinance has a section labeled A that talks about institutional use. The new section that's being proposed, this text amendment, that's also being mentioned in the staff report. It's what's colored in red over here, and I'll just read it verbatim so everyone has an idea. So the proposed text would be, the village shall be permitted signs with a maximum height of 10 feet and a maximum sign face of 48 square feet. Signs may be designed in such style with such material as approved by the community development director. External, internal illumination shall be permitted. Village signs shall be exempt from any additional requirements set forth in this code, including those imposed by the Antioch downtown sign district. In determining whether to approve a permit for a government sign, the community development director may consider any special regulations that have been adopted for an area of special character. If the community development director denies a permit for a village sign, the village board may overrule the denial by a majority vote. So what I just read is the new section that's going to be inserted into the sign code under 10-14-12 as paragraph B, B as in boy. So that's what's being proposed as the text amendment. Now, I could show you what the proposed sign will look like that the village wants to include if this text amendment is approved. So what I have here, what I have presented here, and it's also in my staff report for those viewing us online. Page 3 of the staff report. This is the existing building with the existing sign, Circadian Health and Wellness Center, right? It's a channel letter, internally illuminated, and it fits nicely on the building. So what I have here is the architect's rendering for the remodeler, the remodel of the village hall building. So it's going to be intended saying Antioch Village Hall channel lettering with the logo. And it's going to be plus or minus 44 square feet. So way below what's being asked in the ordinance. But this is where the village wants to go. They want to mimic the existing sign, have this sign proposed. So what I have here is the site plan with that wall that's there to provide some balance for the building. And with my arrow, this is where the sign location will go. We'll go towards the main entrance of the building, which would be the vestibule area, and would be kind of like in the same location. Now, this cannot be approved until the text amendment is approved, so this is what the village is considering. This is the originator of why this text amendment is being proposed in the first place for this type of sign. I don't have anything else.
That would conclude your presentation for the sign amendment?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Sanfilippo, any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Ms. Carstensen?
Any reason why it's just one line instead of like Antioch and then Village Hall with just like the, is it gonna look weird if you take that sign off and it's in the aged building? You know what I mean?
Not necessarily. You're going to probably clean it a little bit once the whole sign gets removed. I'm not sure what's the reason for a single line versus two lines. This is what the village wants. This is what's being proposed.
I'm not against this, I just curious. Is that bleak?
Ms. Speech?
No questions.
Ms. Flanagan?
So can I ask why this is being limited, to only government? I guess, right, it says government, schools, parks and churches.
No, it just falls under that bracket. Paragraph B talks about municipal.
So it's separating
Right, village.
your other institutions, churches.
So we did that on purpose when we built the sign code because we wanted to limit.
We didn't want everybody to be able to say, hey, this is what we can
Yeah.
do.
This gives the municipality flexibility for the village hall building, probably for the public works, for other buildings that may be part of the park system that we have here that is owned by the building, by the village. So it provides flexibility. I take it, again, this was before Howard's time, when this plan was created, when the sign was discussed. From what I gather, the village wants to provide some type of easy sign to be read quickly from afar. Since this is a secondary street, this is located in an area of the village where you have a lot of buildings at a higher elevation fronting Main Street, it's harder to read a sign that's smaller in size, sandblasted with either indented or extended lettering with gooseneck lighting. So the person is driving or walking, oh, I see it right there. It's shiny. It's in my eyes. Village Hall, this is where I have to park. I guess that's the reason why this is being proposed.
And, based on where that is located,
Yeah.
if those houses along Skidmore, is it going to create an issue with the houses that are there?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'll be honest with you, probably not at all.
I just wanna make sure, and we're very light conscious and,
Yes.
you know.
Agreed, but it's
The
facing,
school
it's
changes.
facing almost directly west, and
Yeah.
if you look at the elevation of the building, it has, quite a bit that's gonna be blocking that from many of those houses. I feel comfortable with it, but that's,
Okay. Oh, it's fine, I just.
So you have to understand, when the plans were presented to me, when I first started here, I said, oh, this is gonna require some type of sign review, which I couldn't approve at the moment. So it was either variances, multiple variances, or a text amendment. Again, like I discussed in my staff report, between the administration, between staff, which is me and legal, they concluded that the best option was to create a text amendment to allow for some adaptability and flexibility for the municipality to advertise itself. This isn't like we're advertising a business, like a car dealership. This is for the general public to see the building.
I would agree.
Yeah.
for-
No,
for the
I
village.
get that, I just, again, we're. Okay, no more questions.
Mr. Martinez.
I have no concerns.
Mr. Turner?
I have no questions.
I have no questions either. I'm looking for approval thereon or against ZB 2503. Was this published? Yes, it was published. So looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, look at that. Ms. Carstensen, Ms. Mish. Apparently we're approving PCB 2503. All right. Roll call.
Sanfilippo,
Yes.
Karstensen,
Yes.
Mish,
Yes.
Madigan.
Yes.
Turner, I'm sorry, Martinez,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
McCarty,
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Using considering. What do you know? Oh. Who opens the place without painting these things?
Great job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's supposed to.
You guys hit all the points.
Gloria,